Well, we liked your story about your first washer last night, so we thought you could tell us again on video and yeah, so everybody can remember about your first washer.
Yeah, well, I used to go like so, washing clothes, and then we finally managed enough money to buy a washer for $50, and it lasted for over 20 years. And finally, I offered it to a young couple that was just starting housekeeping, and so if they wanted it, they could have it. I wasn't giving them any guarantee, and they were very happy to get it. So,
what kind was it?
I don't know what kind of,
Yeah.
it was a ringer washer. It had a ringer with it. It was a special brand for that furniture store. And that was their old plug to get you to come in and buy other things too.
It was a good one.
Yeah. And then they would always send me a Christmas present every year till, I think it was 5 years after I bought that washer, that they would, I got a nice big plate one year, and I don't remember what else, for 2-3 years. I just couldn't get over them still giving me a Christmas present. And that washed many, many diapers and so forth.
No disposables.
No disposables is right. In those days, if they were, I couldn't afford to buy them anyway. They did have them.
Well, we want to know what Dad paid for his first new car. What did Dad pay for his first new car?
Brand new car? Only because he bought used cars to start with.
$850 for the 41 Ford.
That was a brand new one.
Brand new.
Yeah.
That's like 2 of my truck payments.
Fully equipped, no air conditioning. Heater and some radio and everything.
Did you pay cash or did you have to get a loan?
I think I paid $9 a month for a year. I paid for it. Plus the trade-in that we had.
No, that doesn't pay my interest.
Tissue.
No.
Kleenex for $9 a month.
Yeah.
So what was your first job, Mom?
My first job was, well,
And of course,
if you call
I
babysitting a
remember when I
job,
traded in it.
that was when I was about 14 years old, but when I was 16,
Wasn't too old.
I got a job at the
3 years
telephone
old.
company as a telephone
Used to get a
operator.
2-year-old car.
And then I advanced to
And trade in what you
the,
had.
they called it
For
the
a couple
intercepting
$100.
department. That was when you changed your
That was
phone address and phone number and everything. And I had to do the files on those. And I worked there for 10 years. So I was just an operator for, maybe 3-4 years or something. And then I got into that section.
How were phone calls different back then?
Well, I don't really know how different. I'm sure they're handled very differently now.
Did they make all the calls through the operator, or did you dial the
Talk
calls?
about good
No, they were
marriage.
made through the operator.
Nothing like that today.
They were made
Yeah.
through the operator.
Well,
And then
38, I
it
had
went
World
into
War
dial
II
before
So
I
traded
left
the
there. It
one
was
I had in there,
dial.
plus $395 for a brand new battery. And that thing was in there,
Well-
7.5 years later, still going good.
What year did you and Dad meet and how did you meet?
After flip at it was still
Well,
in there.
it was a blind date.
That old
Who
38.
fixed
I
you
can't-
up?
Remember that?
Who picked me?
Who fixed you up?
Yeah.
Oh, my girlfriend and her boyfriend
Now they
came,
look
and they
at
had
this
Phil
last
with
2
them for
years.
me.
Who was your girlfriend?
Her name was
I just replaced
Lavina.
it. It was only 2 years old.
I'm trying to think what her last name was now, I've forgotten. But we had been good friends for many years. She worked for the telephone company too.
They came out to
And
take the old.
we started going together from that night on. We never, unless he went out with somebody else. I don't know.
We'll ask him in a minute.
Yeah, but I didn't. he was it, I guess.
What year was that?
It must have been about
Those days, you know,
1930, I don't
Put
remember
Water
for sure.
in the regular.
Somewhere around there, because I know we went
Kept
together
charged
for
up,
about
but
2.5 years.
Better last virtually all the time.
Yeah.
They run low on water, that's when they would go haywire.
Fade?
You gotta hold it.
Oh, you have to hold it? Sorry about that. Let's do it. Dad, what year did you meet Mom?
Huh?
Huh? What year did you meet that lady over there?
Oh, about 61, 2 years ago.
How did you meet her?
Don't ask the same.
It was a blind date.
Right.
Did you date anybody else after you met her?
No. No, once. Yeah.
What did you like about her?
I guess it was just a real thing.
The real thing. I think you might be right.
Have Mom tell about her mom and her dad and her sister.
At that time, so I don't know how all these things happened, but this is the way that I heard it, that I had 7 brothers and sisters. No, there were 7 of us children, and one brother that died as a baby, maybe 6, 8 months old or something like that. He had pneumonia. But I know my dad was very happy when I was born. He had one daughter before that, and she was the second child. And between my sister and my dad, this is what my sister told me, that she and my dad were so happy when I came along because they were tired of all those little boys running around, I guess. But my dad only lived to see me for 3 months, and he passed away with typhoid fever. And he was only 37 years old. So that way I had a life without a daddy, which I felt very hurt a lot of times because all the other kids in the neighborhood had a daddy to do things for them and with them. And I didn't have any uncles. My uncles had all died before I was born. And my aunts, I think there were maybe an aunt and an uncle while I was too little to know them. But outside of that, so then I thought, well, when I get married, then I'll get a father-in-law, and then I'll get a father. But my father-in-law died before I got married. I never did meet him even, so that was my sad life.
So
Your
what
mother
did,
and dad came from where?
From Sweden.
When?
Well, I think they were maybe in their 20s, possibly. I don't know definitely, but they were in there. They weren't in their teens. They were in their early 20s. And you don't ask me how my mother met my dad because I have no idea.
what did your dad do?
He worked in it was kind of a combination furniture store and not a grocery store, but
Hardware store?
well, maybe could be hardware or supplies of all kinds.
General
Because they
store,
sold,
general store.
yeah, maybe more like a general store, but not groceries. And
They lived in Brainerd?
yeah, they lived in Brainerd. They had a house on Bluff Avenue, a nice big house, and it sloped down the back, way down to the river,
So you could
where
go
they
s-
used to go, the boys and
Mississippi
their
River.
dad used to go fishing.
That was the Mississippi River back there?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what
I
it was.
imagine it
You went sledding and tobogganing in your backyard,
was. Yeah, right,
down to the river.
right.
And how'd your mother take care of all those kids after,
That
without your
is
dad?
something that I wish I had asked her how she ever managed, because but she was a little bit ill for a short time. I suppose it was the shock of my dad going and she worrying and wondering how she was going to take care of this family. My older brother, who was 14, went to work in the Brainerd shops.
Who was that?
Arthur. And
He was the oldest.
Yeah.
Who
But
was next?
Well, before he went to work, he was always drawing. He turned out to be a commercial artist with a very nice business, I would say, for many years. But then he went in after a bit. I think he was taking a correspondence course, and he'd work up into the night. And my mother said, "Oh, why do you do those things? You know, and you just tire yourself out. You'll never get any place with that, just piddling with a pencil." And he said, "Well, you'll see. And later on, he went to into Omaha. No, he went to Minneapolis first, and he worked for an art school or something and took some courses. I don't know how. I think he got the courses free for the work that he did, because my mother didn't have money to send him to school. And then finally, he went to Omaha and got into another outfit. And later on, he moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and had his own business, worked for many years. He died at 82.
The other brothers.
Yeah. Then there was, the second brother was Ernie, and he was a carpenter in a sense, but cabinet maker, and did beautiful carving of wood. And then later on in years, I think he was only in his 30s when he got a brain cancer and had gone to Rochester, Minnesota, and had surgery. And so but he only lived about 3-4 days after that surgery. Then there was Ed, and he managed restaurants in Minneapolis. He was a restaurateur. And he died at about maybe 72 or something. Just, I guess, old age, you'd call it. I don't know if he had anything particular else wrong with him. And then there was Warner. He was a butter and egg man, we called him, because he'd buy eggs for the government. This was during the wars and that, and he would buy eggs for all the camps.
Direct from the farmers.
Yeah, right. And I think he died I think he was only about 62, but he had.
He died when Tommy was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
I don't remember what year,
Yeah,
but.
yeah. And let's see, he had diabetes and a few little things like that, I think. And then there was Klaus. He died about 4 years ago, but he was a bookkeeper and accountant, and worked for the Coca-Cola company too for many years. And outside of that,
And you forgot Aunt Ellen.
oh yeah, Aunt Ellen, she was the second child, and she went to St. Cloud to normal school at 18, and
What was normal school?
that was to teacher's training,
Okay.
teacher's training school. And she went there, and she got her first little red schoolhouse with 8 grades in it at the age of 18. She went and taught school there, and she taught for many years. I don't really know how many years she taught, I would say, but I was always happy to see her come home in the summer. She'd come home in the summer and sometimes get a summer job besides, and that was my big sister. And she died when she was 91.
Wasn't she the spitting image of your mom when she got older?
Yeah, very, very, she resembled my mother a great deal. Yeah, you see their pictures, you see very much of a resemblance.
Do you have pictures of the rest of your family, like Ernie and the rest of them?
Oh, I'm sure I do have someplace or other. I don't know. I've got a box of pictures, so someday somebody's going to see them. Maybe I tried to get rid of pictures that wouldn't be interesting to you children.
Mm-hmm.
I gave them back, like Aunt Rose, I gave her Tommy and Bob's pictures that we had gotten and thought they could give them to their children. They would enjoy them. You children wouldn't know who they were even.
Yeah.
So
My children would.
Yeah. So, but I just saved family pictures.
Let's take a break here.